That smells good. Just enjoying a cup of coffee in this mug I recently repaired here. There's one of them here. It's just such an awful idea. I don't even know I wrote it down. I'm not even going to do it. It's so bad. I'm just not going to do it. It involves a human centipede. At some point, there'll be millions of people you subscribe to this channel. You're like, haha, I wonder what Gentrification Tower 1's gonna be, right? But the big joke was an earthquake just destroyed Gentrification Tower 2. So I started another orphanage here, the Children with Clumsy Parents Orphanage. And we do need a plastic source to ultimately feed ASMR Semiconductor. Big issue was their health was at 0. You can't drop off the prison workers at the bus station. They escape when you do that. I assume there's nothing against the terms of service of sniffing glue on. I wasn't sniffing glue though. I had to deal with a pandemic. I had to figure out how to give out free money to people. Use your judgment. This is not recommended for health reasons, but for adrenaline rush reasons, give it some thought. Oh, there's another one. Just happily causing chaos because no one's telling them what to do. People are going to die in this game if this doesn't get pulled out ASAP. There's a lot of secret experiments that go on in society that you don't even know about. Some people like to call other people sheep. It's kind of rude to call someone a sheep. That's not the best place to park a helicopter. This little bit of excitement near the end. That smells good. Just enjoying a cup of coffee in this mug I recently repaired here. I'll just put this plastic cement away here. It's not really needed now that my mug's repaired here. And we'll see how that works. I don't know if that's funny or not. It is related to the show. The objective of this episode is, of course, to build plastic recycling. Smells good plastic. What do we got in the show today before I get too carried away here? Do I play a game for all this amount of time? Absolutely not. Sometimes I barely play the game at all. I just talk about random stuff, random stories, some ideas, things I see on the internet, things I see in real life. I'll put it in the show. So what could be on today's show? Well, I have an idea for a new sitcom. Share that with you later. I have a new ant trap that's even more sadistic than the last ant trap I discussed. As you know, the previous ant trap involved squashing ants and then leaving them where they are so that other ants would see that and have to be forced to take them back to the colony, and eventually the ants don't come in anymore. It seems to work. I have a poor person's adrenaline rush. So if you're really poor, you're eating rotten food, like you never go out, you basically have no money like me. I'm going to show you a poor person's adrenaline rush, something you can do to entertain yourself, like all poor people do. And it's economically practical too. It'll actually save you money. It's such a good idea. I have some suggestions for what SpaceX should do instead of sending rockets to Mars to boost shareholder value in oil stock. I think there's alternative things that humans could be doing that would be maybe a little bit more useful. I have a cartoon idea, a really good cartoon idea. If you're a writer looking for some ideas, at some point there'll be millions of people you subscribe to this channel. If you don't jump on the idea fast enough, it's probably already out there because someone early on is going to see it and they're going to get the idea and they're going to make a cartoon. And this one's really good. I know I do so many stupid, silly things in the show that you can't trust if I'm being a clown or not. Because sometimes it's serious, sometimes it's not. And you got to listen to find out, right? But this one's actually just a good, legitimate cartoon idea. Unless it's already done. It has to be done. I figure someone has to have done it. It seems so obvious. It'd be crazy if it hasn't been done. A controversial idea for a workers and resources Chinese republic, which, would probably be the sequel to this game. We'll see what the devs think of that. There's some other things here. There's one of them here. It's just such an awful idea. I don't even know I wrote it down. I'm not even going to do it. It's so bad. I'm just not going to do it. It involves a human centipede. I don't think I'm going to do that bit. I don't even get it. I really can't even explain it. So we're going to skip that one. So without further ado, let's get back to the game here. Let's have a look what's going on in the world. Before I hit play, we'll just have a quick rundown. So what happened during the winter last year? Did nothing happen? Did all good things happen? Did a bonus come? Was there a bonus event where bonus money could be added to the Republic and everything was happy? And no, that never happens. We had a lot of fires over the winter. This time, unlike last episode where I mismanaged some things, this time I didn't really mismanage anything, but I had a lot of bad events happen. Probably in the bottom 10 percentile for luck. But the main thing you want to know is what's our purchasing power, right? How much can we borrow in US dollars? 742,000 right now. That is twice as good as last week, so I don't think we're going to go bankrupt at least, but we did have some problems in some tactical areas. So the first thing, I'll do this in the order of events they happened. So somewhere it was December or January, we had a fire in the grain storage here. And we have a shuttle bus that goes to China and to Russia back and forth. It goes here and here. And when the shuttle was right here, it snowed. So the snow plows are here. So they started working their way here. And just as it snowed, a fire showed up here. There's a couple of small windows of time where we don't have staff in our fire station. Like 95, actually I'll say 98% of the time, there's people in the fire station here. The only way there won't be is if that scenario happens, where the bus is really far away and it snows at exactly the same time and it'll be empty. And it was just long enough to effectively destroy our grain storage, okay? We had 3,500 tons of mixed waste, and that's a disaster. Not only that, by the time the people got there to start fighting it, the fire trucks got there and they got destroyed in the fire too. So we probably lost about 200,000 US dollars. What makes this even worse is I can't even rebuild this until it's empty. Our demolition office had been vacant for a while, but something else kind of lucky happened simultaneously. This just got released. It's a big garbage container truck that goes 87 kilometers an hour. Let's buy 4 of them. Let's put 4 in the demolition office. That'll start chipping away at it. And then I did the math on 3,500 tons. That's going to take hours to empty. So I was like, you know what? Let's build another demolition office. So now there's effectively 8 of them. I added 4 more in the FEMA as well. So now we have 12 of them moving 81 tons. Probably takes a few minutes per. Maybe that can be ready by harvest season. We'll find out. This is a big expense. But it's not a crazy expense because these are best in slots, right? These are the best big garbage containers you can get. So it's not completely silly. What else has happened? Have we connected our rail line? We're getting very, very close. We haven't, but I don't know if it's going to connect this episode. And it's not really the theme of the episode, but I'll tell you by next episode, we will be connected to Soviet custom house. We'll be able to then bring crops out of here and bring them over here and save some money. We built our mall last episode. It's now filled up. It's been used for several months now, and we probably got enough apartments for now. I'll wait till these fill up, and then I'll probably launch another one. However, it might fill up faster than expected because something else happened. It was almost as bad as what happened at the granary. So sometime after the new year, we had another earthquake. It just, in the winter this time. And a winter earthquake, I don't know if it's maybe after 20 years it starts throwing harder and harder challenges. But earthquake in winter is much worse than an earthquake in summer because, and again, it was somewhat like during a blizzard where the fire trucks were very slow to get out. We lost one of our apartment buildings, gentrification tower number 2. You're like, the big joke was, ha ha, this is called gentrification tower 2. and there is no gentrification tower 1, right? And there's a space where you could put a tower over these houses. You're like, ha ha, I wonder what gentrification tower 1's going to be, right? But the big joke was an earthquake just destroyed gentrification tower 2. That's what I get for being a smartass. Another thing that happened during the earthquake, of course, is this heat exchanger. And of course, they're all together. This heat exchanger and this heat exchanger all burnt down. The fire trucks couldn't get to them on time. A hard spot for the fire station to reach because it doesn't have, like here, we have our asphalt road that goes here really quick up and down here. But in this zone, it's a little slower to get to. So it's kind of motivated me to place another fire station. And this is actually a little bit more in the city than I originally wanted, but each time we've had an earthquake, we've lost at least one heat exchanger. Another reason to put it here is this is going to have a lot of apartment buildings, right? So we want to have extra coverage from the fire station just in case. The strange thing was none of the fires happened in any of these newer apartment buildings, but I suspect the age of a building might affect the likelihood of a fire during an earthquake. I'm starting to think that because we had 3 fires here, and this one here is 100% wear and tear. So this one could collapse too, but we're almost reconstructed it. Fingers crossed that this gets repaired before it collapses. If you recall the earthquake we had 2 episodes ago in the orphanage, we fought it and then it went to 100% wear and tear. And before we could repair it, it collapsed. So that was a bit of a disaster. Our orphanages too are just overflowing. I thought maybe if we had better policies and stuff, but it could be like maybe this building getting destroyed is related to the orphan issue. So I started another orphanage here, the Children with Clumsy Parents Orphanage. I've been ignoring it for a few years, but I think it's going to start to get us. The real objective for this episode is, are we going to build Smellz good plastic? Here we've got a few tons of plastic here. And the nice thing about this storage facility is it is connected with the rail line. So we could start bringing in recycled plastic and dropping it in here. I don't think this is too economically viable, but it's still better than paying for the plastic. So, and we do need a plastic source to ultimately feed ASMR Semiconductor. That's just sort of what's going on in the world here. We're just building up our plastics and electronic and continue to grow our population. Season ends at 20,000 and approximately $2 million US purchasing power. That's when we've proven communism can work. If you can spend $2 million, because that's the trend upwards, right? We were at just over 300,000 last episode. We're going up to 700,000. But just a bit of a warning too, just because it's trending up, it doesn't mean it will always go that way. Earthquakes happen, a bad luck happen, just random bad fires. The biggest mistake though is a bad purchasing decision. Like if I buy a television station too early, that could bankrupt us, right? If we don't have enough people to man it, just the bad decisions are the biggest threat. The biggest threat to stability in Western society isn't random events, it isn't a disease, it isn't tornadoes, it isn't earthquakes, it isn't wildfires, it isn't hurricanes. The biggest threat to America and pretty much any major nation is the fact that a small group of people at the top make policy decisions for everyone else. It's those people and their ignorances that are in fact the biggest risk to an economy. As you see in this game here, I have a limited borrowing power. You can see why they're making mistakes. They look at these trends for things like, you know, if I'm making 300,000 a year, then it's 600, then it's 900. You can you kind of guess what the growth rate is, but that's not reality. Charts are never linear. They always go up and down, and you're always just watching a part of them, and they're kind of stupid. Like the people that are very wealthy have no natural selection, and they do what they perceive other people would do as a common sense decision. And usually that's the wrong decision. Pipelines, for example, obviously no economic viability. They think that it creates jobs, and it is economically viable as opposed to doing nothing at all. But as you can see in the simulation, opportunity cost is the counterpoint. When you get people to do stuff on one project, they're not doing something on another project, like installing solar panels or wind turbines, which are more economically efficient than pipelines, like a micro arrangement near a community. So there's no need to rely on external forces to bring the power into your city. In fact, it's more secure. Pipelines are incredibly insecure options. The super rich prefer oil. And as we've discussed in the show, the reason they prefer oil is because it lets them control the valve and they get to take residuals out of the system, and you can't do anything about it because it's a single pinch point. And of course, they control the wars too. If they want you to go to war, they'll just contact their other rich buddies in the next country and say, hey, why don't you attack our pipelines so now we can sell some weapons our factories make. Like, that's how it works. And these people control your government too. So, just as a general rule, if you're going to consider who you vote for going forward, as humanity evolves and rids itself of these parasites, vote for people that are not funded by corporations, okay? Large financial entities, if that's like the red flag, anyone with that should have a do not vote tag put on them. It's just like the automatic thing going forward. This will ensure only people that represent the people are going to get in power. And obviously, if I was in power, wealth tax day one. If you want to avoid, the end of your civilization, stop trusting the most dangerous thing in it, which is the people at the top who make really, really dumb decisions that are going to basically end your culture. Recognize the problem for what it is. And they're too dumb to know that they're doing it too. So most of them aren't going to change the way they think. Unless they watch the show on repeat, then maybe they will. Let's do a quick pause here. I want to cover this. So during the winter, we had someone move in. And I was shocked. I even made a post on Reddit and said, hey, look at this. Someone moved in here. And then, like, the next day they died, okay? And you could see on their health, like their statistics, that big issue was their health was at 0, or is at 1%. And then they died shortly after. So I think the cold weather really, really deteriorates their health fast. So I thought, hey, let's build a dump city small clinic. Maybe they'll get a job at the disease research, at the small clinic, and then there won't be as many diseases here. The challenge here is now that they have a pub, and the person there was 40% alcoholic, which is pretty bad, I think. Okay, but maybe that's why they moved in, was this pub. Because I don't know what other reason they'd want to live in this house. There's no sewer, there's no water. There was just electricity in the pub, basically. And they chose to move in there. But of course they left in winter. So it seems like the health effects of winter are the biggest threat here. So for that reason, this might make them stay longer. I don't want to set up heat just yet. I want to see for next winter if they stay longer, if this keeps them alive. And someone else was saying you can bring them to the city, and maybe if you bring them to a heated building. I can confidently say that people will move into this house so long as this is checked off. But they definitely won't last the winter. The people that spawned there, both times that I noticed, were age 21 with level 2 education. So it looks like they just came out of the halls of residence. It seems that way. Let's do some topics of the show. What's the first topic we should do? Let's talk about the ant trap. My even more sadistic ant trap. So, as you know, if you ever see an ant in your house, squash it, leave it in its spot, and let the other ants see so they know not to go there. You could film it happening where they'll see the other ant and they'll bring it all the way back to their ant colony across your yard. And it's a waste of energy and not good when that happens. And they get the message. But I thought of an even more sadistic version of this. So in my bathroom, there was a pretty big spider, okay? Not like a South American big spider, but a big spider for North American standards. Think of a large pea, for example, like the body and legs maybe, 1.5 to 2 inches wide. Big enough spider. but it kind of crawls into like a pipe area. And I know there's ants around here, so I usually don't like spiders, but when there's ants around, I'm kind of their friend. I have not seen any ants in that part of the house since I saw that spider. Okay. Put two and two together, the size of the thing. But I thought, if let's say there was ants appearing in another part of the house, I want to catch it. Like, I know they come in through the front door, so I want to catch the spider and sort of confine it and place it right in that area where the ants wander in, and encourage it to build a bunch of webs there. And I think that would be an even better, again, all natural, no chemicals, no stress, seems to be very highly reliable, very sadistic, and very entertaining. Okay? So for that reason, if you know where you can find a spider, there's already a web somewhere, see if you can catch it. And then if you happen to know where the ants sort of get in your house, or any other bug you don't want in your house, you got two birds killed with one stone right there. Your spider's not going to bother you in the house anymore. And that's the other advantage of this, is that I can take the actual spider out of the house, because I'd rather not have spiders in my house. Okay, I'm not much of a fan of spiders. You know what, let's do another topic. I'm kind of behind on my topics here. I had a rant, spending a bit too much time covering other things. As you know, there's law and order in this game. Sometimes I notice the prison gets overflowed. My idea is a free market prison. I think this would be a great idea for real life too. First off, I'd rather not keep it too full. I think if your prisons are getting too full, you have other problems with your society. As you know, in this game too, there are prison lines. If you ever wondered what a prison bus does, you have to set up a line like this. It has to go directly to the buildings you want them to work in. You can't drop off the prison workers at the bus station. They escape when you do that. My idea, that I think would be a great idea for society, is a free market prison where the laws kind of change depending on how full your prison is. Like, if your prison's really, really full, maybe these minor crimes, they're not crimes anymore. Okay? Maybe, or they're just very, very minor crimes. Actually, this ties into the concept of universal basic income that I've discussed, and how one of the big contingent premiums is to be law-abiding. So you create UBI, which we have to because of the machines taking over all our jobs. Even the rich people's jobs are getting taken over now. So you create UBI, and instead of having minor crimes, you make the penalty no crime for minor crimes. You don't go to prison for it, but instead you lose a portion of your UBI payment. So for a period of time, like if you were sentenced to 3 months in free market prison, maybe you lose your UBI bonus for being law-abiding for 6 months or something. Just a smaller UBI paycheck. You got to live in pretty bad conditions until your sentence is up, and then you get the full amount of UBI again. Yeah, that's an idea. Let's have free market prisons where we sort of adjust the crime rate, or we adjust the qualifications of what a crime is based on the space of the prison, because that's real economics here. Just the cost of it is way more significant than the opinion of a few judges. It's way more significant. So because of the weighted importance of it, it kind of stands to reason that judges should be kind of controlled by the capacity of the prison. I would generally advise, don't build more prisons. I'm going to try to never build more than one of these small prisons in my republic. Eventually I'll make things legal, but at least in this city, and there is no UBI, but I will just continually lower the threshold of crime in order to maintain a reasonable capacity of this prison. We will overflow with garbage if we're not careful here too, because we're going to be continuing to deliver over the winter or over the summer, and we're not going to be burning it. And we might even have to just start throwing some of this away at the border, the last few bits. Like, we might have to do without a granary for 1 full year. Oh, and by the way, it's not like these cattle facilities are doing nothing right now. I just simply changed the distribution office. So instead of selling to China, it's buying it right now. Because we need the grain to produce our cattle. So these are still working. We're still producing cattle, and we're still selling the cattle. Oh, there was one other thing too I had to keep an eye on. Oh, good thing I remembered. This here is a super high priority project. This got destroyed in the earthquake. And yeah, this has to be built before everything else. The reason is that this is the only way for them to get to the mall, to some of these buildings here. So there's probably people already complaining about food. Yeah, see, there's 3 that can't get food there, 7 that can't get food, and it is because this little piece got destroyed in the earthquake. So I think I just remembered that too. Again, we've had, I think, 4 earthquakes in 7 years now, which I think seems unrealistic. Is this realistic mode? That's not realistic. That's way harder than reality to have that many earthquakes. Oh, another thing I did between episodes is I relayed the subway station here. Check this out. So instead of using the smaller one, I went with the bigger underground one because it's mostly underground. I like the fact that the building itself isn't taking up real estate on the surface, and it has an escalator here. All these houses can just go into this escalator. I'm going to have to demolish this house, but it will tie into this sidewalk here, right? So a lot of people in this area will be able to get into the subway. And then there's another entrance right here in all these apartment buildings. Because we're slowly going to decommission this coal plant, this will be removed as we switch over to garbage heating, pure garbage heating from this zone. Okay, this is a much, much safer distance to do heating. So this incinerator here is probably ultimately going to displace this here. So that means that because we're going to get rid of the pollution problem that's occurring from this thing, we'll be able to build a lot of apartments here. These are really good, very dense apartments right beside the church and the mall. So I think that's a great idea. Ooh, we're getting a little bit up here in patrons. Let's increase our staff just a smidge here. We do have a tunnel builder. I bought this for like 70% off, this thing here. This is like normally like 1,000,000 rubles. I bought it for like 300,000, like 25% wear and tear. That was a good deal to get like 70% off for, it was 8 years old at the time, I think. But I was like, I just thought I'd buy that, you know, because then once we start building our subway, we can build it super fast that way. And otherwise, that's a pretty good deal. I think it's worth it for saving $600,000-700,000 and just to warehouse it for a little bit. I have to have a sip of coffee here. Ah, yes, the handle's sticking much better now. I glued that handle on. You know, I don't know how that intro is going to do. There is a possibility that someone saw that and said, you know what, there's no way we're going to sponsor this guy. There's no way. That's just, no. It is quite possible. I have no restrictions on what I will do. Like, if I find it's moderately funny, at least, it's something I can do while sitting down and not have to go out into a haunted mansion or something and risk falling through a rotten floor to entertain you, I'll do that. Okay? Maybe it's just as entertaining. Something as simple as that. I assume there's nothing against the terms of service of sniffing glue on... I wasn't sniffing glue, though. And if you thought I was, any kind of imagery, any snapshot of any kind of fiction movie could be perceived as the impression of something happening if you don't give a few extra seconds of context. So that's my legal defense. If someone wants to say, you can't do that, I'll say, what do you mean? It was made clear I was gluing my handle on and I was smelling my coffee. That's your problem for not watching the last few seconds. Because I think that's reasonable. Also, is it funny? I don't know. Maybe it's funny, maybe it isn't. I'll see. I'll get to watch it later. First time ever in film. Let's see, is Smellz good even getting built here? Oh, I don't know if we're going to get this done. It's too low. We got too many other things going on. Each save gets a little bit longer as the world gets bigger. A little bit bigger. This is the lowest video resolution, you know, Workers' Resources, Soviet Republic. I don't have the greatest machine here. I'm extremely poor. I have too much toxoplasmosis in me. Makes me a little bit wonky sometimes. People don't like hiring people like that. They discriminate. People like certain types of people. It's all about image. Job is about image, not about being productive or doing anything useful. Like, you do your job, but odds are it's not really needed. Like, if you really, really like distance yourself, think about the job you do and distance yourself 10,000 miles. Watch it from above and ask yourself, is it really that big a deal? Would humanity survive without it? Like, humanity survived without 99% of the jobs we have today. So, ooh, my, look at this. Look at this. We got too much aggregate waste. We don't have enough people processing the mixed waste. Or the construction waste, but they're not getting to work for some reason. Why is that? Why are they not making gravel? Is it because we have too many people sorting this here? Okay, we're going to probably have to stop delivering mixed waste here. We got to park some of these waste trucks because the delivery from the grain storage is going to overflow us at some point. Yeah, so this is what our supply of mixed waste is coming from the demolition offices from Houston. So we don't really even need this anymore. So I am going to stop it completely. This one here, a dump cleaner, I think it's, instead of parking it, we're sending this one to the scrapyard. 45% wear and tear. We have way too many of these now. The general rule is 20 years if it's slow. Like if it's going 60 kilometers an hour, that's too slow for our roads nowadays. So anything over 20 years, it's kind of the end of line. Like an excavator whose speed that doesn't matter so much. Or if it's an old truck that can go at least 90 kilometers an hour, I'll probably let it last for 25 years. Just because it's not as much of a burden on the system. It's not like having the old money businesses kept alive, right? Which is the biggest burden on the economy there is. As you know, like the opportunity cost of it. Whenever you create jobs for people that don't work the most efficient of jobs, that's the cost, right? It's better than nothing, I guess. If you want to pretend you're a useful government official creating good jobs, you could pretend creating inefficient jobs is good for the economy, but to do your job properly, you're supposed to be creating efficient jobs. I don't know what's going on, but none of the workers are showing up. Actually, you know what? Let's just grab a few people from Chicago. Let's grab a few more. Maybe we're just low on population. We'll just do a quick population run here. Where can we get some? Oh, there's a few here. Let's grab these all out of these houses right here. Let's just grab a bunch. I'll talk about a topic while I'm doing this. Let's just see what we got here. This is the poor person adrenaline rush. So if you're like me and you don't have much money, you will find ways to entertain yourself for free or save money. So if you've ever had some food go bad, like I did the other day, I had some chicken. Okay, I had some chicken in the fridge. It was a batch cooked from a few days prior, actually probably almost a week prior. It's like a stir fry kind of thing. But after like the fourth or fifth day, it seemed to go bad. I thought it would last longer. It was refrigerated the whole time. I was like, oh man, this smells bad. And chicken, that one's a little risky. Eating rotten chicken, okay, that's not good, right? But if it's already been cooked, right? If you've prior cooked it and it, isn't smelling too bad, a game you can play that's entertaining is called Lottery Chicken. Okay, so how does Lottery Chicken work? So this is what I did. Okay, again, I don't want to waste any food. I want to, not throw it out, but I also don't want to get sick. So I took out the pieces of chicken, which were the smelly parts, and I instead put it on a frying pan and heated it like at a pretty high temperature. Like it was almost burnt a little bit. Like not burnt, but it was browning on all sides of the chicken. There were little chunks, okay? So I just sort of turned it on all sides, had direct contact with the pan, cooked it, and thought, you know what? If there was any kind of bacteria in there that I shouldn't eat, by actually cooking it that way, that should have gotten rid of it. So I ate this lottery chicken, right? Then I threw it back in with the stir fry. Just like the rest of the stir fry seemed okay. I ate it and I didn't get sick. No diarrhea and no stomach, nothing. It seemed to work. So again, gag reflex. You know, I've mentioned this with rotten watermelon eating. You always do the gag reflex first. And upon cooking it, the smell of the funkiness was extremely diminished, where I couldn't, like, I could still smell it a bit, but the cooking process seemed to actually work a little bit. Now, again, this is one where you need certain level of skill. If you don't have the frying pan hot enough, if that chicken is too rotten to begin with in the first place, and if you're not willing to roll the dice, then don't do this, okay? Again, this is for a poor people. If you want an adrenaline rush, you know, it's cheaper than skydiving, right? It's probably just as sensible. Actually, it's much more sensible because you have to pay a lot of money to skydive. And uh, just skydiving, I'll say no. Bungee jumping, no. But lottery chicken, yeah, give it a shot now and then. Again, use your judgment. This is not recommended for health reasons, but for adrenaline rush reasons, you know, give it some thought. That's the other thing too. When we had these earthquakes, a lot of fires, you notice some buildings are missing. Again, everyone died in this apartment building. You know, I don't want to sugarcoat. 3 out of 5 of these buildings were on fire. We saved 2 of them, but this one didn't get saved. I think I prioritized the furthest ones, thinking they could get back on time to get this near one, but no. I don't know if, I think only 2 out of 3 were going to get saved given the staffing we had. So this appears to be hurting our workforce enough that we're not processing the gravel fast enough. So just shortages of workers. We actually had, I think we had 14,200 people population. And now I think we started at 13,800 for the episode. So we lost about 400 people in that earthquake. So it was a big deal. Like 210 from this building alone. And yeah, we're having shortages of workers. It's a disaster in that sense. This is the real economic disaster. Pro gamer showing you how to run an economy, not a politician, not an amateur politician who will laughingly say reality is much more difficult than this game, yet they will never actually try this game. They'll never be able to compare, and they think I don't live in reality. Okay, we got an epidemic somewhere. This isn't good. A politician during COVID, oh, I had to deal with a pandemic. I had to figure out how to give out free money to people. This has happened twice in this game already, a pandemic. 4 earthquakes in 3 years or 7 years. How can you say reality is tougher than this? I can almost guarantee, I'd actually wager money that politicians, top policy decision makers, if they sat down, played realistic mode of workers and resources here, I'd say 99.9% chance they would fail. Like I'd actually wager money. I'd actually give you 10 to 1 odds. I'd bet $1, and if you succeed, I'll give you $10. I might even, if someone wants to gamble more than that, go for it. If they think it's easier than reality. I'm not even going to tell you all the things that are unrealistic about this game, but that one of them is the natural disasters seems a little unnaturally high. Whenever I have a challenge build, I never fail. And I don't want to fail this one time after such a slick entrance. But the thing is, we don't even have enough workers to work here. Let's make sure our waste trucks aren't still picking up. Nope, we got another one here that's still foolishly picking up mixed waste. And we have nowhere to park it. I'm just going to park it in here. I don't know where to put it. Getting a little bit more panicked, getting stressed out, screwing up more. Oh, there's another one. Just happily causing chaos because no one's telling them what to do. They keep complaining about the prisons. I can't look into that during a show. Actually, you know what? I'll quickly change the law here. Free market prison. What kind of crime is going to be less of a penalty going forward? And maybe all these disasters we've been having are part of the problem. Maybe that's what's leading to the spike in crime. So let's get all these people moved in. They're going to slowly find jobs, and eventually they'll start processing this gravel again. That's just how the causality of things works. Oh, oh my, we got another issue. Oh my. Okay, so the lack of processing the construction waste here has actually shut down our ability to, I don't know what we're going to do here. We got to sell this construction waste. I don't know any other way to do this. Okay, so we had a few trucks here. I didn't know where to put them. This is what we'll do. This is my pro gamer skills. Just sell it. I have no other choice. We're going to load our construction waste here, and we're going to unload it at the border. And this is an emergency. Like, I can't wait around. People are going to die in this game if this doesn't get pulled out ASAP, because the causality is this is completely jam-packed at the waste processing, and we have no way to produce any burnable heat. Therefore, the temperature is going down in all the buildings, and everyone's freezing to death as a result of this. Let's assign that to 2 trucks, because we got so many surplus of these right now, and we kind of have to do this. So we'll start emptying that a bit, and we'll see if we can save some lives here. I got an idea for a new sitcom. Okay, so it's called Machiavellian Landlord. And what it is, it's a landlord who has tenants that he doesn't like or he likes. So the tenants that are good, he does things for them. Special consideration for good behavior with the tenants, right? But when he's unhappy with tenants, they're slow to pay their rent, maybe they're too noisy, too high maintenance, they just can't figure out how to do basic things in society, and they're just constantly annoying him. He starts doing things, or she could, I don't know, who the main character of such a show would be. The idea would be that part of the show is they do like bad things or just little things to dissuade them from staying, slow to do repairs, just little things. Maybe they're not very polite with them, just general rudeness, maybe stuff like that. So they just go away. That's sort of the idea of Machiavellian Landlord. My life's a nightmare. I have a giant mortgage and I collect rent. I used to have a job. They gave me enough money to buy a house. I rent out a suite. And I still got a mortgage, so the rent only pays for basically the suite. So I make no money off it, but I still got to take care of these babies. And I swear to God, sometimes some people are worse than others. I've had some good tenants, and I've had some bad ones. Some of them just think paying the rent is like, I'll pay the rent whenever. So that's my idea for a Machiavellian Landlord sitcom, where the landlord secretly trying to get rid of bad tenants. I think we'll be able to get some heat again now that we're emptying out our gravel supply a little bit. It's such a waste to have to do that, but I had no choice. See, the heat's happening again, so it must have emptied out. That's the only way that's possible. So there's little capacity here in the construction waste. So it got pulled through the conveyor belt as we empty a little bit, but I'm not going to empty too much of it. We're just doing this so that we can get enough heat to survive. 1 or 2 people might have died because of this, okay? Let's check our hospital, see how our pandemic's doing. Were you overburdened? I think we're doing okay. Okay, so this is a better thing for SpaceX to do with their time. So as you know, tax dollars get collected and then pooled into accounts, and then the billionaires advocate for minimum requirements to bid on contracts. So they get their lawyers working with the government, lobbying that only certain market caps are allowed to bid on government contracts. So this is then how they bid on the contracts, because only the billionaires' companies are eligible, and regular people can't have access to this money. So long story short is your tax dollars get siphoned out into a pool and then collected by the billionaires. That's why they're billionaires in the first place. But then one of the things they do is it goes to NASA, and they then hire SpaceX. So they're stealing your tax dollars is what SpaceX is actually doing, but through enough corporate shells that you won't notice. And I notice these things. Honestly, I think it's just a way to burn extra fuel and just to drive up the share of prices of other rich people's stock. So for that reason, I'm kind of against sending rockets to Mars. But what I think they should be doing instead, and again, the parts where they send out the satellites for internet and stuff, that part of the spending is okay. But rather than planning for these Mars missions, which I think's completely delusional and not ready, we're not ready for it. We do not have the infrastructure in the place to be doing rocket launches just yet. You know, this world we're playing here in this game needs a bit of work. I'll admit, I'm the first to admit it's not ready. Just like real life's not ready. Instead of colonizing Mars, why not find Planet X? We know what's out there. We know Caltech's scanning for it, Nibiru. And as you know, the lore is humans were genetically engineered by aliens. We're part alien is the big joke. Engineered out of apes. Maybe our previous samples were cavemen. You know, Cro-Magnon might have been the previous iteration of the experiments. The Homo sapien experiments, they come by every 10,000 years. They do genetic experiments. They choose the best, the fittest of us. Maybe an average person like myself or someone else with awareness and, you know, average normal stuff, what they're looking for in terms of genetic qualities. They will pick someone like that and create the new species of humans, okay? But we don't even know where this planet is. We're hardly putting any resources into it. So what I would do is SpaceX. Honest to God, this is what I would do is I would be setting up more telescopes, more scanning tools, possibly preparing to send up communication equipment if we do spot it. And if it's got like a gold hue to it, I'll explain in a future episode why that is. You know, maybe there's some signals we detect coming from it when we really target our audio telescopes on it. I think that to me is a more useful, like at least spot it, because we know what's out there. We know the gravity data tells us out there. There's experiments going on right now where they use data from your phone and consider the tides at the time and the position of things to detect any kind of anomalies in the gravity. It's very insane precise equipment we have nowadays. There's a lot of secret experiments that go on in society that you don't even know about. But I think sending the ships to Mars is a bad idea. I think the better idea is to instead invest that money to find Planet X, because that I think will have a more direct impact in reality in the next few hundred years. Because again, the lore is every, 5, 10, 20,000 years they come by, and we know they haven't been around for at least 6,000 years now, I think, because according to the tablets, they were in Mesopotamia 4000 BC. It's now 2000 AD. We haven't seen them since. They could be due for another visit. So that's what I would be doing instead of wasting it on going to Mars, which is just as silly, actually sillier than my idea. It is genuinely sillier to be sending rockets to Mars. Sometimes I wonder if I'm going to get in trouble for some of these topics. We'll see. I can always edit things out. This show is just very weird. My number one target is weirdness. Number two target's cringe. I'd rather have weirdness over cringe. Number three is probably humor, in that some amount of it. I know some of the things you won't even laugh at, but it's just so weird. Okay, now they're finally showing up for work. So those people we dragged in, okay, they all have jobs again. That just goes to show how sensitive losing few people to a collapsed building, the causality of everything. I think this is a legitimately good idea. There's a cartoon writer out there, someone who makes cartoons, short stories. Here's an idea. It's based on the sheep. And you know the people, the sheeple. You think you're a sheeple? Some people like to call other people sheep. It's kind of rude to call someone a sheep. Maybe you're the black sheep, maybe you're the white sheep. But I think it's pretty obvious I'm a black sheep. The black sheep who's like, you know what? There's weird things that are going on in that farmhouse. You probably don't want to go in there in the end of summer, right? Like, I'm kind of aware of how the super rich use the people, like their personal flock of sheep. Billionaires are like the farmers. The citizen is like the average sheep. And every now and then you have the black sheep who's like saying, wait a second. So the idea for a cartoon is kind of like that idea. you have this one black sheep, and it's for kids though. So it's not going to, just teach the basic idea to kids first. Maybe an adult with a childlike mind would find it entertaining too, where it's this idea of this one black sheep that none of the sheep can understand. All the other sheep just don't understand what he's saying or she's saying. Or maybe just neutral, gender neutral, don't be specific. But the black sheep is always buying and being disruptive and making life difficult for everyone else. And the farmer just, he's dealing with it like a normal sheep. Like the billionaire is dealing with a normal sheep, right? Just okay, just shut up and get back with the flock. In this story, the other sheep can't understand the black sheep. Like in their bawing language, the white sheep can all sort of communicate with each other. They all understand each other. But the black sheep cannot be understood. But other animals in the farm understand what the black sheep's saying. And the black sheep's saying things like, they're going to take your fur you're going to be freezing cold when they take your hide in spring or whatever. And then they might eat you later. He's trying to warn the other sheep you're going to be eaten. But the other sheep won't listen. And they don't understand. And they just get angry and they fight with them all the time. Because they're just like, why don't you be normal? As you know, how collectivism works. Collectivism is the premise of racism. Racism has to do with numbers. The majority will always bully the minority. Okay? So in America, white people were the majority. They would bully the black people. Other parts of the world, that can be the other way around. Like if you're a white person in China, for example, you might get bullied because you're the minority. This is how collectivism works. And this is how the white sheep think. Because all the other white sheep around them say that black sheep doesn't make any sense, they never listen to it. And the story, in this kid's story, this cartoon idea, is the white sheep start disappearing. And then maybe one of the white sheep starts to understand what the black sheep is saying and says, okay, we gotta do something. And they escape or something, I don't know. But that's an idea for a cartoon idea. This black sheep that isn't being understood. And I think kids would relate to that. They'd be like, why aren't they listening to him? He's right. But the arrogance of all the collective majority white sheep wouldn't listen. And then therefore, they all get slaughtered in the end or something, except for a few that escape. I don't know. I think that's an idea for a cartoon. I think there's something there. Some intellectual premise there. Go ahead, use it. Bloody pandemic. Okay, we'll have an earthquake and then a few months later a pandemic. Oh, let's have another earthquake right now while we're at it. This is realistic, right? That's how often they happen. Let's talk about, this is a controversial idea for something I think could go in the next Workers and Resources, maybe Chinese Republic. Obviously the game doesn't exist yet that we know of. Maybe there's something going on we don't know about. I have a controversial idea. It has to do with custom houses. So we talk about AI and robotics becoming a bigger and bigger problem. Like the reason under capitalism they are the end of civilization, and the reason why the US and most Western nations are falling behind economically is because there is no universal basic income. There is no way of taking care of people when machines do the jobs. So if you don't do work, you're going to be homeless. That's just how modern Western culture works. And that's not good, right? It basically means that people will act like Luddites. They're going to want to get rid of robots as a result. So the controversial idea that I have for maybe a future view on a socialist republic would be to have robots available at the custom house. What do you think of that idea? Like you're purchasing robots that work as workers. So then in your factories, like maybe this is after the year 2030, okay? Or 2025, let's say. Maybe your prefab panel factory has, instead of 65 worker slots, maybe it also has room for 10 robot slots. Certain buildings have robot slot workers too. So this would be a new game mechanic for the expansion where you have Robots you can purchase from the border. Maybe you buy them. I don't know. Maybe they're permanent things. Maybe you rent them. Maybe the only way you get them is from the custom house until you get the supply chain to build your own. But it would improve your economy. And I think it is realistic that a percentage of your buildings can be manned by robots. And therefore, it's very realistic, especially in a future era of socialism. Maybe AI slots exist in school where YouTube's used to teach certain classes, which might make a lot of sense to displace teacher jobs, which again are probably a good portion could be automated too in terms of actual knowledge content, right? And or like, an advanced industry. Add a few more here. Robot manufacturing. Maybe put a couple of steps in between to make it a real challenge. Maybe it takes a lot of research to develop it in the tech tree. And it improves your economy. So, yeah, there's an idea for, somewhat controversial idea for workers and resources, Chinese Republic. Is Smellz good plastic even going to get built? See if I can even find our city's getting, oh, it did get built. There we go. It did get built. But we're not going to have, we're going to have 3 jobs here. 3 jobs in Smellz good plastic. Oh yeah, I want to do something about the prison. How about this? This isn't bad at crime, and that's not a bad at crime. There you go. I don't know if this... Yeah, let's go to that. Let's lower our criminal... There you go. There's your free market prison idea. Keep our police... We got an ample police, so we'll let them out on the streets a little bit longer. We'll see how that works out. What the heck? How come our fire helicopter's in the middle of the lake? I don't know, that's a bit of an issue. That's not the best place to park a helicopter. I think it would be a little hard to get into. Issues with lift right there. See if that sorts itself out next fire. You probably have a real job. Maybe you're a nurse or a doctor, or a firefighter, someone who's doing something legitimately real. It's after your shift. This is your favorite show. And politicians and the way they mismanage your taxes anger you, and you love to hear me saying, yes, yes, they are doing it. As much as they say they're not doing that, they are doing that. They are wasting your tax dollars. But you want to watch other people work too, right? A little bit of Schadenfreude. Watching other people work is an element of Schadenfreude, the taking pleasure in other people's misery concept. Significant enough concept that the Germans gave it a word, that taking pleasure in other people's misery deserves a word. See, look at that. Our construction waste is doing good. This was nice. That's interesting. When you repair a building, it goes from, it doesn't like gradually get better. It just goes, it's under repair, and once it's done, it goes to like 0%. So this was 100% wear and tear. And previously, when I saw that, the building actually collapsed. So I'm a little happy about that. Look at that, 6 people here. That's the most I've ever seen in this house. I think the pub adds a little bit to it. And we do have a shuttle here, so they might even have jobs they're going to. But soon they'll be able to work in the clinic too, right? Will the clinic be enough? Yeah, I know the heat makes them sick. But if they go to the clinic right away, and they all work at a clinic, and that's all their jobs, they all keep each other healthy throughout the winter. So we're going to find that out. My guess is no, but I think they might last longer. So the 2 times I checked last winter, they died within a day of me checking. And it forced me to uncheck that. So I'll check maybe by December I'll know. If they're dying within, like if they're only lasting 2-3 days, I'm going to uncheck it again. And then we'll maybe build this heat plant here. And it's going to have lots of pollution just because that's how Dump City works. Like the fact that we're going to put a quarry right in our downtown. Right in downtown Dump City. You get a cesspool of sewage here. We're going to have a heat incinerator. And just for the aesthetics of it, let's put a quarry downtown too. Why not? A lot of this is experimentation, discover the tolerances of people. Okay, and there are shuttles here. Like if they need food, see, these passengers should be going on here to go get food. I should share this too. I found this for, it was like 25% off. I found this Class 35E. This is normally like 350,000. I think I paid 250,000, and it was like just 2 years old. So that's a pretty good deal. And if I see another, I'll buy one. If I see a similar price deal, because we are about to get connected here. What else were we working on? Did we build our new orphanage? Oh, we did. So there we go. Just gonna go out. Oh, maybe we'll get this fire. This is a little bit of excitement near the end. I think we're gonna wind this out. This idea for the human centipede one was just so bad. I don't even know why I wrote that. Just crazy. I just don't want to even say it was just so bad. I don't even think it's funny. Maybe it's funny. We'll see. Maybe season 2. I have to. This one requires some, some assistant editors and assistant producers to give some feedback on, maybe review some of the quality of some of my topics in future episodes. I thought it would be fun to play a bit of winter, because I haven't started an episode with snow in quite a while. And now I know why I don't do this. It's just too hard to do. It's just too much stress. Maybe you like watching me get stressed out. Maybe you don't. But we survived it. It was fun. We'll see about some of the intros I do in future episodes. They might be worse. If you like the show, leave a comment. Tell me what you think. If you think there's some parts that should be clipped out as their own thing, comment below. Don't forget to throw a like. Please subscribe. I do need to make money off this. I think it's 1,000 subscribers are required before I get just enough to pay for food. And this is a full-time job. As much as you think it's just me logging in and playing a game 2 hours, this is 60 hours a week. Okay, between editing and I do play the game between. I have to invest at least 10 hours of play to advance a year. This takes a long time to build. So again, this isn't very hard work, this kind of planning, but nonetheless, it is work, and it takes up my time. But the majority of the time is probably about 40 hours of that is editing. I have to spend every minute I record. I have to listen over for audio defects, judge whether I want to clip it or not. Say, hey, why don't you clip this out? I don't know what to clip anymore. I have finite time between episodes to do that, so I need your feedback. So I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope things get better in the world. And yes, I will see you next week.